Quick, for $1, name a woman.
Shaka Khan.
Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and you better not be a Ina Garten when I get there. So should I take this off then? We have an adult mango lemonade with something Canadian inside of it. Oh, Canada. That's pretty good actually. And I need energy that only the Lord can provide, so here we go. Things are getting a little wacky on season 18 of RuPaul's Drag Race. We are talking about episode 8, the Snatch Game of Love Island, where the queens are, you guessed it, participating in the Snatch Game. But this time, there's a twist. Interesting wordplay here, since usually the All-Stars formula is to play with of love. And it's basically that All-Stars twist, except all 3 of the bachelors are participating rather than one in each group. And you know, I've always thought that Paris seemed nice this time of year. And later on the runway, they have to reference an 80s lady followed by a Go-Go's lip sync. And I am once again wondering how the runways and challenges got desynced. Last season, I wondered why the tribute to season 7 Ugliest Dress Ever runway did not coincide with the Drag Race tribute episode, the one where they were lip syncing to famous quotes from the show and had to come up with their own songs based on those. And I wondered, in a tribute runway and a tribute episode, why are those not together? And this year I want to know why the 80s themed runway did not happen alongside the 80s themed girl group. We move on. I'm really happy that Drag Race producers are attempting to find a new way to approach the Snatch Game. Canada kicked off trying to turn it into a musical, Slation Royale turned it into commercials, UK versus the World turned it into a pageant, but I'm gonna be real here. I think it's time to give up the ghost chat. Snatch Game at its core is about celebrity illusion and celebrity impersonation. And if this is going to keep devolving into simply an improv challenge, they can quite literally make this challenge any game show parody and have them just create a character. Weakest Link, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Family Feud, but it's just improv. It doesn't necessarily have to be celebrity illusion anymore. They could relegate that to a runway, like what they did here with 80s Ladies, and just have it be a illusion challenge on the runway. I'm empathetic to a point that they prepared a character for the desk version of Snatch Game and then had the rug pulled out from underneath them and have to readjust and create characters that are a little more flirtatious. But throwing it all the way back to season 2, they made those girlies rehearse an entire acting challenge and then forced them to swap scripts last minute. And a bunch of those girls worked it out despite not knowing the script. I personally have gone out in drag, prepping an entire set, and then boom, the DJ plays something else from my thumb drive somehow, and I am in the middle of the stage and have to just go and perform. Drag is theater. And theater is all about improv. And if you can't do improv, you're gonna seriously get lost on not only the Snatch Game, but also Drag Race. And I think the producers need to have a serious embargo on not doing improv characters. It must be a celebrity, and if you can't do a celebrity, then you can't do the challenge. There's gotta be something to meet this concern, because tell me why we're on season 17 of this challenge among all of the international versions, among all the All-Stars versions, and we are still having girls wanting to do duplicates. Mikey, as brilliant as she was doing Drew Barrymore when Willow already did so. Juicy wanting to do the 8th Cardi B in her trying to decide who to swap to. Mia wanting to do the 3rd Big Ange. Nene wanting to do David Attenborough, which, in all fairness, I think everyone, including Something Wong, would love to forget that she ever did him, but he has been done. And then Juicy landing on JoJo Siwa, who had been done perfectly by Lemon. Also, I swear someone already did Lizzo. Oh, it was Silky in Canada versus the World, and I think Coco Jumbo did it too in Down Under. And also riddle me this, why is it that half the cast were doing made-up characters? The Pope, I'm counting since it wasn't a specific Pope, Mrs. Claus, Bloody Mary, and, checks notes, a Greek woman. This is just improv, chat. We have completely lost the plot here, I fear. Pack it up, let's Snatch Game, have a proper burial, let's send it Viking style out on the ocean, light it on fire. Just let this challenge be an All-Stars thing, because once you've already gone through the trials of Drag Race, going back to All-Stars and being more prepared would be a better opportunity to show off a character you've had some time to prep and grow for. For anyone that is watching this that might be prepping an audition tape, here are some women that you could play on the Snatch Game who have not been done as far as my recollection that I think would be hilarious. Rachel Ray, be aggressive and butch and ridiculous. Sandra Lee, be a lush. Fun fact, I auditioned from season 8 till season 11, and all of those seasons I auditioned with Sandra Lee as my Snatch Game character. I had this gigantic margarita glass. It's down there. And you just play stupid. Do literally Craig Ray Morgan style of Sandra Lee. Ina Garten, be better than everyone else. Kathy Griffin, who has so many lines that you could pull from Life on the D-List. Lucille Ball. Niecy Nash. Leah Michelle, play up that you can't read. Nick Cage, not a female character, but someone who would be objectively hilarious if you could nail the voice. Sean Connery has an incredible voice that you could do an impression of. Heidi Klum. Come on. Kerry Washington, specifically as Olivia Pope. Leah Remini. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Just constantly gaslight everyone in the room. Jasmine Crockett. But you would need to know how to read down first. Janice Dickinson. Megan Mullally as Karen Walker. A lot of the girls go on Drag Race and they insist on altering their voice, and Megan Mullally already has one that she's already written. I just came up with characters for like 7 seasons of Drag Race. And I'm squirreling right now because we are this close to just seeing Party City costume names show up as Snatch Game characters next year. Season 19, watch Hip Hop Homeboy and Adult Fisher Price Rock-a-Stack be the bottom 2. I keep feeling like Snatch Game just needs to go. It's had its time, and maybe it's time for the sun to set on this challenge. But maybe they just need to tighten the parameters back up and stop letting nonsense happen on the Snatch Game. Because I like what they're doing formulaically with it. Keep changing it. Keep giving new ideas. Anyways, let's stop squirreling. So let's talk about the Queen stories, the Snatch Game, and their looks. Mikey Meeks had an incredible week this week considering the last minute switch up. It's very clear that she knew her character inside and out and was able to easily think on her toes, something that I think does deserve a lot of recognition. Flexibility is kind of a lost skill in 2026 because so many folks are quite rigid post-pandemic life, but Mikey, I think, is here to bend, and I live. When the girls were tossed this curveball, she just went with it. Her character choice for the Snatch Game was Drew Barrymore, and she had me cackling from the moment she started talking with the corner of her mouth. And I want to give Mikey her flowers for such a strong characterization. Her physical comedy was equally strong to her humor, and that's something I find is usually one or the other in Snatch Game. Either someone is really brilliant with what they're saying, but isn't physically in it, or their physical comedy is wonderful, but their humor isn't really there. I love the ridiculousness and earnesty in which she answered all of her questions. And I loved Mikey sitting on that couch like a bisexual who can't sit normally, because it is very well known that if you're fruity, you cannot sit normal in a chair. And I thought overall she was very fun. I kept looking for her anytime the girls were talking because I wanted to know what she was doing. And it was like Drew was there. And that is what I think of with Snatch Game. And for her 80s ladies runway, Mikey is referencing Olivia Newton-John. I think it's an incredible replica of this costume. There are these intricate Art Deco style lines on the original bodysuit that Mikey attempted to replicate by using gemstones. I like this a lot. I personally have zero problem with the fact that she wore those Mary Janes. My problem is that the paint was chipping a little bit. Otherwise, I think this was a fantastic week for Mikey. Her look and her performance in the Snatch Game were a slay. Jane Don't also had a really good week. I kept giggling to myself that her Afraid to Slay storyline has evaporated. Maybe it's because the wind distribution is so equal now in the room that maybe she doesn't feel so much like if she pokes her head out into the top that people will target her. And we got no real resolution to where all that fear went. It just stopped. And I think Jane is experiencing a classic case of be careful what you wish for. She dimmed her own light for the sake of the room, not wanting to stand out too severely so that she wouldn't break into these wins and have eyeballs on her. And so in the Snatch Game, where she's playing Truman Capote, she did a great job, but manifested a non-win. The acting challenge from season 17 soft launched this character, I think, because as soon as they showed up, I was like, oh my God, that's the character that they did for Ross Matthews and the Ducks last season. And I very much enjoyed that Jane was referencing Ross as much as she did, probably to draw those conclusional lines between season 17 and this one. That voice she was doing was so funny to me. Jane looked like Ross, but spoke like Mangella from Banjo-Tooie. And I absolutely lost it at her line delivery of, RuPaul is here, she looks Her age. You can tell Jane does comedy often because she volleyed so well with the others, especially when they weren't as strong. She picks up well in the room when the ball is dropped and keeps the humor moving. And I think Rue appreciated that, because I know I did. Jane was delightful to watch in the Snatch Game, and with the precious little they showed us, delightful is good. I think that she should take this character on the road with her. For 80s ladies, Jane is referencing Kate Pearson of the B-52s. It's really clean and flawless. I see the original source of inspiration, but I also see a little ab fab in there. She somehow made this look even draggier, which I love. The glitter on the waist was a very nice detail to add some visual pizzazz. Very slay. Nene Coco is the winner of the challenge this week. A decision that quite honestly gagged me. I'm really glad that she snagged another win after all of this time. This easily could have been a justifiable double win situation because Mikey and Jane were just as strong as Nene was in the Snatch Game. And all three of them being super strong standouts, I think justified a double win. For the Snatch Game, she is doing Sir David Attenborough some justice after something did her so wrong. See what I did there? I loved her voice and the way that she held her mouth open. She pivoted extremely well for what her challenge expectations were to what the challenge actually called for. She made this character flirtatious, something I wasn't expecting to be done well, and I genuinely laughed at the way that she composed herself throughout the Snatch Game. In this episode, I think she locked down her frontrunner status even harder than she had before, and I'm more certain now than ever that Nene will be an endgame player. Because Snatch Game is the deciding factor, and it has been a talking point for years that it's where the queens from the baby queens are really separated. But Snatch Game is where Rue decides if she likes you or not. If she hasn't formed a decision by then, Snatch Game is where we will see it. And I think it's very clear from her response to some of these queens, she's not feeling them. And she wants them off her set. For her 80s ladies runway, Nene is referencing Cyndi Lauper. Her presence on the runway was so youthful and bright. I think that's what I enjoyed the most about her look, was that presentation. She made a few changes to that original reference photo, but I vibed with those changes. She changed the metalwork to leather, which was a little more modern. I liked that jacket that she added. It brought some flirtiness. And I really love the addition of those Madonna-esque fishnet sleeves. While it is definitely a departure from the original look, it has a lot of the essence in it. My only real nitpick is that I found the spray paint effect on those tights made her legs look moldy. It needed maybe one more coating of spray paint in order to give it that graffiti effect. And then the close-up on this was even cuter. I love those butterfly pins and the multitude of studs on the jacket. Nene very clearly thought about this look more than just a one-off runway and wanted to make it a moment. It's a complete slay. Darlene Mitchell is figuring out her place this week in the group, and it was nice to see a little bit of that humanity behind the character. She is greatly stepping into her power, and I think we're gonna see this manifest into some wins soon. In the Snatch Game, she was portraying Mrs. Claus. Now, I want to be grumpy about this. I really do. I don't like characters, I don't want cryptids, I don't want creatures. However, in the realm of made-up characters like the Baby Valentine and the Devil and Jesus, Mrs. Big Feet, Mrs. Claus by technicality is a celebrity in her own right. Every December of every year, you can find a Santa running around a mall, and they might have a Mrs. Claus with them, but they're certainly referenced. And so by small, slight technicality, I will give this a pass, even though I don't like it. Everyone has an idea of who Mrs. Claus is. She's this shut-in housewife who bakes cookies all day and dodges sexual advancement from the elves when Santa's out. I like that she was playing this as a shut-in housewife who's just horny for some attention, but man, she could have pushed it a lot further, I think. Her first line, "I'm looking to get glazed like a Christmas ham," started out strong, but I think the others in the group were just a little stronger than her, and because she was breaking character a lot, that prevented her from pushing. And then for 80s ladies, she was doing probably my favorite look of the runway this entire night, referencing Dolly Parton. I gasped, and I did not stop gasping. She looked incredible. That walk was great. It was so perfectly studied. Her presentation and her look are beyond flaw. This is sublime. Super, super, super slay. Discord Adams this week very much is feeling more confident. I love seeing them step into their power as well in the same way that Darlene is. Come get your freak chain though, Discord. When she said she was doing the Pope, I got nervous. And then her first answer about the altar boy, I got nervous. I knew it wasn't gonna go there, but I was still nervous because Discord has been really political throughout this season, and I love that. But sometimes a political message in the Snatch Game might not go in the right direction, so I was like, ooh, where is this gonna go? But overall, she had some great references, and as someone who loves some sacrilege, I enjoyed this. The prosthetic was a tad bit crunchy, but it was so camp that I forgave its flaws. She was subtle, but very strong in the Snatch Game. You don't always have to be doing the most 100% of the time, and Discord is solid proof of that. I think she could have been higher up with maybe a more solid runway look, and maybe if there was a little more time. The best thing that Discord did in the entire Snatch Game was getting that man to show his pits off. We are in an era of pit maxing, and some of y'all have asked me to stop doing it in this chat. I'm gonna keep doing it when I can, but I'm so glad that she got this man to raise up his arms. That is for the freaks of the Drag Race community. Thank you for that, Discord. For her 80s Ladies runway, she is referencing Reba, a diva that I am very passionate about. Y'all, I love this look. I say that it needed to be stronger, but there's really only one nitpick that I have, and it's so small and slight. I enjoy these colors on her. This black sequin dress is a showstopper. I like those sequin paisley pieces that all constructed the jacket. It was so hot, and I only just realized that Discord's proportions are so perfect for this era of Reba. I said that there was a nitpick, and it's really small. It's that the hair is a little too intense for this era. Reba in the 80s was more of that strawberry blonde when you look back at old photos. She didn't lean into that intense redhead aesthetic until the 90s, and this hair is absolutely fancy Reba, which is only a couple years off, but it's still definitely a slay. Athena was going through it this week dealing with the adjustment to the challenge. She had a completely different concept going into things, which honestly she should have just done. When Rue suggested that she do someone Greek, I rolled my eyes so hard I almost popped a blood vessel. I'm so tired of this lady leading these girls astray. After this episode, I will never ever be gaslit by anybody that Rue is still a good host fit for US Drag Race.
No!
This made-up character, Greta Feta Onassis, proves that Athena is really good at improv on such a short notice because she was able to create this kind of out of nowhere, but it's not a celebrity. She's a strong Greek woman. I will say, she looked hot. I love this gold look on her. I think she was a lot funnier when she got with the boys than she was with Rue. And for having to come up with a big old pot of bullshit on the fly, it's passable, and for this Snatch Game, passable is not bad. For 80s Ladies, she is referencing Joan Collins. Okay, stop the press. This is stunning. No notes. Great work, Athena. I love the volume. I love the scale of this pleated lame. Even if it has virtually nothing to do with the reference photo they showed us, I like it. Maybe her not sticking 100% to the illusion that they showed us was the thing that kept her out of a higher placement, but I don't care. Slay. Juicy was also going through it this week, a theme with the Dions. She starts the week feeling guilty about sending home Beta, and I hold space, but also kick it into gear. Because at the rate that she's going, she's gonna be the lip sync assassin this season, and I fear that a lot more girls are gonna start going if there are more improv challenges to come, and I think there will be. For the Snatch Game, she played JoJo Siwa, a decision that was a decision. I appreciate that she made fun of JoJo for her tradwife pipeline, and I don't care what the judges said. Her specialty is not in comedy. It's in dance. So I thought it was smart that she leaned in on something that she knows well that she can do. So she created a character that dances. Maybe it's not perfect for the challenge, but it's something that she's good at. And she can just do bits and tricks instead of needing to be traditionally hilarious. At this point in the degradation of Snatch Game and how diluted it is from what it's supposed to be, in my opinion, anything's on the table if you're improving. It's supposed to be celebrity illusion, but that's not the case anymore. When someone makes a character in a sewing challenge, code for I didn't sew this garment very well or design it very well, but I made it funny, they get good critiques. When a queen chooses to be funny in a dance challenge rather than learn the choreography super technically, they end up in high positions. If Juicy, a non-comedian, chooses to do something physical for a comedy challenge, so be it. Drag Race is at this point in its career where there are so many ifs, thans, buts, and things matter until they don't, and we have no consistency between when a challenge has to be completely stuck to and when you can deviate from it. This is one of those challenges that is such a disaster bait at this point. If someone is at least slightly funny, and I think she had some funny moments, so be it. This was not Juicy's challenge, but she made up for it on the runway where she is referencing Celia Cruz for 80s Ladies. This gown is rich, it's luxurious, the textures are tasty. I love the fit and flare of that skirt. The hug on the hips and the waist made my jaw drop. Shout out to her designer for installing that corset into the back so they could get that good yankety yank. And the hair. Also, she is so mugged down all the time. I'm obsessed with her visual packaging. The question remains, Kenya Pleaser, who had another rough time this week. That's the category. The girls are going through it. Playing an alleged sexual harasser in a dating version of a Snatch Game where she was essentially sexually harassing these men was on a meta level that was maybe a bit too on the nose. I did like her line, I prefer both, when Rue asked what kind of meat she preferred, and then she looks and says, I prefer white meat. I think her problem is that she has too many references for Lizzo, and maybe all of that knowledge caught her up a little bit and didn't allow her to connect with the humor. She had a lot of physicality down, but then the jokes were missing. She didn't really connect with the challenge, she didn't connect with the boys, she didn't connect with Rue, and that lack of connection this week shown on the runway. And this is a very consistent problem that Kenya is having. She is not able to draw from all of this ferocity that she should have inside of her and connect that to Drag Race. She is showing an unpreparedness to be here. And that critique she got a couple of weeks ago about not knowing her lyrics really underlines the core problem about Kenya's journey. She's underprepared for Drag Race. For 80s Ladies, she is referencing Chaka Khan. It was a bit clock that reference. It's a fun-ish look despite Michelle saying that she de-dragged Chaka, which I do kind of see. It's incredibly simple. The wig isn't quite distressed enough to be a Chaka hair situation. It's a soft chop, I fear. She was the bottom queen with Mia this week and had to lip sync to Head Over Heels by the Go-Go's. It was a pretty upbeat song, but I didn't feel like it was in either one of their wheelhouses. I can't imagine either one of them are casually lip syncing to this. Since Mia is the dancing diva, I think Kenya was smart to rely on humor in her lip sync style. When she said, I did my first dip, was it crunchy? It felt fierce. That's me when I'm bottoming and I'm trying to bounce on it. I'm like, were my knees crunchy? It felt fierce. By the way, Papa does not bottom. Don't get excited. I'm really not surprised that they kept Kenya. She is a great soundbite character this season. On top of it, I think she has more storyline to draw from in Milk. With her unpreparedness to be in the competition, they can use that to their benefit to draw parallel lines to how she's not really prepared, but somebody else is. Use her as a, look, they're so much more ready to take this crown than you are. That's where I see her story going. Mia Stars are out queen this week, another one who's going through it, trend alert. And it's shocking she was out here because she seemed like an endgame player, especially after just having gotten a win not that long ago. She's an incredibly strong lip syncer, so I'm sure that them all thinking that this undefeatable dragon was in the bottom was going to absolutely have a victory, that probably was a shock that she went home. It is shocking. But you know what? I think realistically, Mia doesn't have a lot of stakes in the game. Her story is wrapped up with the Dion's, but she's sort of an accessory to their overarching storyline. During the Juicy and Athena talent show extravaganza, she was kind of just in the background supporting them. And I think with her being out here, it will generate some static for both Athena and Juicy, who are very close with her, rather than if Mia had remained and Kenya had gone. That wouldn't have created any sparks in the room. For the Snatch Game, Mia was playing Bloody Mary. She started strong with, I got that spooky coochie, and that initially got me excited for what was gonna come, but then the car ran out of gas, I think. Overall, Mia seemed lost, a bit overwhelmed, and when she did that Mercedes, yes! I knew that it was low-key a rap. Whenever you do that sound, that pause, yes, in an improv challenge, it's a wrap. You're done, you're cooked. She was clearly not prepared for the twist of this challenge, and I don't think she was even prepared for the original iteration of what this challenge was supposed to be. And that reflected in every choice that she made. I do love the compulsion to go sexual when you lose your improv and you don't know what to do. I do the same thing sometimes. It's a very easy avenue to take, but it gets dull. And I think she was so attached by the concept of the color red that her entire set was a miss. She just talked and said a lot of nothing. And for her 80s Ladies runway, she was referencing Prince. I like how she femmed up Prince, but he's not technically an 80s lady. This is just me. I think she's got a facial structure that would have been sickening for a Janet illusion for this runway. In the lip sync, I hope that Mia's earring brought its passport because it was going on a journey. When it ended up on her shoulder, I knew that she was performing down, but also it was getting to be a lot. This was a fun lip sync overall for her. But again, I'm not really surprised that she's out here. Her exit will cause more waves than if they had sent home Kenya. Overall, I enjoyed the structure of this Snatch Game. I like that they're taking a risk and wanting to adjust what Snatch Game is so that it doesn't stay stagnant and dull. My problem is that it was a bit too short. It was super abridged responses, there was not enough content, and I want to see 12 to 15 minutes solidly of Snatch Game time. Because I'm here for the drag. I'm here for the talent. I'm glad that it's getting some new life. I'm glad the show is being less rigid with how they want to approach this challenge. I do wish, however, that instead of the guys all hooking up with each other like they have every other time, I wish that they had genuinely gotten to choose a top 3. I think that would have been an interesting twist and would have added some stakes for them having to adjust their characters so fiercely. The main cast are starting to form a little more solidly, I think, and it's interesting to see how things are unfolding in this journey. Next week is a musical that looks like it's based on Annie. I'm glad to see another performance challenge, but a lot of these queens don't seem to be theater queens. I think Mikey, Jane, and Nene are gonna thrive. And with Kenya's storyline of not being able to focus much on lip syncing and choreography, I think this is gonna be her out week, but we'll see. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments below. Make sure to check out my Drag Race UK vs. the World Season 3 recaps, where I will be continuing to do those every week. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to my Extravaganza Extra members for supporting this page. I will see y'all on the flip.